Yo guys, welcome back to another video. Today we are continuing the long run series of showing off my GOAT Yu-Gi-Oh deck. I was just at a tournament, right? Tested my deck out against some very strong competitors. I beat one dude. His deck, he was running a Reasoning Gate deck, so I was able to beat him just because, he would just mill out all of his cards. He wouldn't have a deck left. Which that's not really on me. I think any deck could beat that, but still glad I did. But I'm just gonna show off, new deck. I got some new cards. I didn't show them off, right? So you wouldn't know, but I'll show off what my deck looks like now, and then kind of show some cards that I'm thinking about adding. And I mean, comment down below any suggestions you have. But let's hop in. We'll start with the monsters. So starting off here, we got Mindless Radiant. This is a lot of my warriors are Earth attribute, and Mindless Radiant, he boosts the power of Earth monsters by 500. Even though when I got him, I had real high hopes for him. He's not the best. I mean, I kind of thought he was going to be like a equip spell for like all my guys type of thing, right? Boost all my guys, but you're using your normal summon. The normal summon in this, you kind of want stronger guys, right? So he's actually one of the cards I'm thinking to get rid of. This card, the next card here, is also one I'm thinking of getting rid of, just not too strong. This is Princess of Tatsugiri, kind of a weak flip monster that does burn damage, right? In a burn deck maybe, but because at most this can do 2,500 damage on the flip, but your opponents really don't have that many traps on the field at once, or not many set cards, and that's what she needs. And you're just not. I wasn't as lucky with how it was, so I'm thinking I'm gonna get rid of it because once again, just kind of weak. Next card here, great card, Mobius, strong card, destroys back row and is just a tribute monster, very powerful. The only card that I think that could replace Mobius would be like a Jinzo, because I think Jinzo would be a bit more powerful in this deck, just because you kind of just deny traps. But I have a card here that's similar to Jinzo that I'm thinking about adding, but I'll get onto that later. The next card we have here is Dream Clown. I actually have another copy of Dream Clown in my deck, and even though Dream Clown is a warrior, a lot of times warrior decks don't run Dream Clown. Right? I've looked on the internet or whatever, and most of the time they don't. But I've actually really liked Dream Clown because I run Stumbling in this deck, just as kind of an enabler to Dream Clown, but also as just kind of a like a wall, or a kind of delay my opponent, right? And so Dream Clown works very well, and you can just and then I also have a lot of traps that protect my monsters from destruction. So Dream Clown also works that. So he's a great removal option, and I actually think he's an asset to this deck. Next here we got Magician of Faith. Wouldn't be a GOAT deck without Magician of Faith. Just a very strong card, right? Here's my other Dream Clown. Like I've said, Dream Clown's great, and two of them just means, if I had one of them, it might be the same, just because I have reinforcements of the army. I have the maximum of the 2 copies of reinforcements. So only having one Dream Clown might actually be a bit smarter decision if I want to, but I also just like Dream Clown. Dream Clown's a cool card. Look at that smug fella. And then we got Goblin Attack Force. I think Goblin Attack Force, I had higher hopes, because this is a card I thought I wanted for a long time, because I was running Giant Orc, and that's basically just the same as Goblin Attack Force, but not a warrior and weaker. And Goblin Attack Force is fine, I think, but he just doesn't have that kind of like the defense, right? Because once you attack, you kind of destroy a guy, and then he kind of gets destroyed, and he doesn't stay on the field. But I think he's fine enough for the deck here, and you can make him stronger. Marauding Captain, great deck, great card. Actually, if I got 2 Marauding Captains, I actually probably would be happier. But 1 is probably fine enough, just because you don't want to have a buttload of Marauding Captains just in your hand, kind of being weak, and if you don't have any other cards to summon. So, but he's great. He's a great card. And then we got Penguin Soldier. Penguin Soldier, this guy is a GOAT. He is the GOAT of GOAT, because it seems like there's so many situations where you're like, crap, they've got a big board and a lot of powerful monsters, and then you draw this guy and you play him, and then you just bounce back all their guys, and you're like, oh no. you're destroyed. And then they're like, oh, maybe they have a face down, and then you can just flip him, send him back. Boom, card advantage, because, it's a, +1 because you send him back and you get a card, so it's perfect. And then you play him again, and, he just creates value, which I think is great. Sangan, once again, you gotta run Sangan in a goat deck. Great card, searches out all these other cards, and searches out non-warriors, right? Because I got reinforcements for all my warriors, so if I put non-warriors in, he helps. I don't really have a lot I have a lot of warriors and non-warriors, but you can search out like Penguin Soldier or something with him. He's great. Gearfried. I mean, I have a couple of these cards, like Gearfried, where his ability really doesn't matter. It's just he's got a lot of attack and he's a warrior, so that's why I run him. He's just kind of a great card. Blade Knight. I mean, similar situation to Gearfried. He's got his abilities, but the abilities never really seem to work too often. I keep him in my deck just because he's a cool card, and I mean he's got slightly better abilities for being weaker than 1800. He's 1600. So, but honestly, he's one of the cards that I would think to remove. I won't because he's a cool card, but he's not as strong as I think people give him credit for, especially in this deck. Frontier Wise Man. He's not. I mean, once again, this guy's just kind of a weak, not too weak. He's pretty strong. He can get over a decent bit of things, but I mean, he's fine. He protects against spells, against warriors, which is good if you have a lot of warriors. But that's a big problem with this deck, is you don't get a lot of cards on the field. You want more special summoning abilities, which, I mean, that's, yeah. And then we got Blindly Loyal Goblin. This guy's like Gearfried, different. Basically different. I kind of like Blindly Loyal Goblin because you can still equip spells on him, but he kind of has the ability of avoiding like Snatch Steal. So I think Blindly Loyal Goblin is a bit better than Gearfried, but I mean they're basically the same. And then we got 2 copies of Command Knight here. Command Knight is a great card, and high stats, because even though it says 1200, it's more like 1600 because of her ability, and I mean, she's just a powerful stats on a stick and is great. Great card. And I've got 2 of her. And then we got Hunter with 7 weapons. This guy, he's fine. I like him because, you can kind of, if they have like a deck with a lot of the same, which, I mean, most people, they have like Fiends or whatever, but he's just kind of 2000 and then he's 1000. So he's kind of just a different version of Goblin Attack Force, which he's fine, right? So that was the monsters in my deck, right? And now we will move on to the spells. So starting off here, we got Hammer Shot. Hammer Shot, just, they summon out a big dude, and I can't deal with him. Hammer Shot him, remove it. One big problem with it is that it's not just your opponent's guys, it's your own guys. So if you've got a powerful guy, and they have a slightly weaker guy, you can't use him. Which, that is the one problem with Hammer Shot that I'm not a big fan of. I'm not a big fan of that. But, I mean, it's fine. Right? They summon a Black Luster. I don't got anything with that high attack, so you can kill it. So that doesn't happen much. Mage Power. Mage Power, great card. I run 2 equip spells. If I got Snatch Steal, which that's one of the cards I want, Equip cards. I think people underrate how good equip cards are, especially Mage Power. Mage Power is great. And then here's the one of my favorite cards, Stumbling. This card is one of my favorites because it's very versatile, even though it doesn't really look like it is. There's a couple cards I'd want that are just kind of powerful that I combo with this. Like Giant Trunade. That was my idea, you Giant Trunade and then get it off the field, play again. I love Stumbling. Stumbling's great. And then here we have Malevolent Nuzzler. So Malevolent Nuzzler is just a plus 1700 attack on a guy. I never really used the ability of putting it back in my hand just because you want a monster most of the time, right? If this gets destroyed, it's the monsters that's going to destroy it, and you need a monster on the field. So, but it's just a powerful boost to the attack. Mystical Space Typhoon, right? Just destroys. Right? They've got like a Stumbling of their own that's weakening my guys, and I want to just push through. Mystical Space Typhoon, that thing. It's great. Warrior Returning Alive. Once again, this is basically just It's recursion, right? More warriors in my deck is great. It's like a weaker version of Reinforcements of the Army because it's all my dead guys I can get back. So it's like an extra monster kind of, but I don't know. It's I just use it because it's a decent card and it allows me to run multiple copies and kind of bring back my guys when I want to. Reinforcement Army, great card. This is the core of a warrior deck, and I've got two. I used to have just one copy of it, and then I got the second copy, and I mean it's a great card. If you're not running it in a warrior deck, then I don't know what you're doing. You definitely need to run it. And then we've got Enemy Controller. This is just kind of a versatile tool card that you can there's lots of applications, and that's why I run it, right? You can kind of, most problems can be fixed with Enemy Controller, and it's pretty handy. The A-Forces. So this is once again, another boost spell to my warriors. And this basically, the more warriors you have on the field, the more powerful each warrior is. But it also works with spellcasters. So I actually have a couple spellcasters, right? Mainly, what's his face? The spell protection guy that protects warriors against spells. And, Magician of Faith. And spellcasters are a popular card, right? So it's handy. So it's great. And then we got Book of Moon, like Enemy Control. It's just versatility in a box, in a card. It's a great card, right? If you're not running it, it's great. Swords of Revealing Light, once again, just kind of a stall card. It's a stall card. Right? If they've got a big, powerful guy and you don't got an answer, you can kind of just stall the game and wait till you have an answer, and it's great. So that's it with the spells. Now we will move on to the trap cards. So starting here with the trap cards, we start with Solemn Judgment. I have 2 Solemn Judgments in this deck. I'm thinking of getting rid of 1 Solemn Judgment, just because half your life points is still a lot. I mean, it's not that big of a cost to counter anything. It's still a lot, and I don't get use out of it. I feel like most of the games, you're just discarding it for something because you don't really have a use for it. And I think, only you can kind of have that use of countering things just with 1 in the deck, which I think, that's why I'm getting the plan of getting one of them. And the second card I'm thinking of getting rid of is Trap Hole. Trap Hole is a great card because you're thinking, okay, I can kill their big guys before it even hits the field. I can just destroy it. But the main problem is, Blackluster Soldier or, Chaos Sorcerer, right? They're special summoned. All the cards that you'd want to destroy are special summoned. And even, and you just kind of sit there and they won, your opponents are going to either won weak monsters or powerful monsters or special summoning. And so you don't really get a use for it. And it's a lot worse than I thought it would be. And then we've got Call of the Haunted. This is kind of the one card I have that special summons, aside from Marauding Captain. This is a great card, right? Gets you ahead in the monster game, right? You get more monsters than you should on a turn, right? Because you can get 2 on a turn, right? Normal summoning and special summon. Great card. I think it got a lot better because I was running Skull Lair. I'm not running Skull Lair anymore. And so your graveyard's a lot bigger and you have a lot more options later in the game when you're going to use Call of the Haunted. So it's a great card. And then we've got Waboku. Once again, this is just kind of a stall card, right? Keeps your clowns alive, keeps you alive, keeps all the cards that buff, right? Keeps all your warriors alive, so then you can play more warriors and kind of buff them up with the A-Forces and boost them up with, your spell protection with your spellcasters, right? Just kind of protects your guys, and this is a great card. I love it. And then we've got Reckless Greed. Reckless Greed, I think, it's not the best in this deck because, you're going to be lasting a lot longer, right? A lot of the games I was playing, they last a pretty decent time because I've got a lot of stall, I've got a lot of destruction, a decent bit of destruction, but I've got a lot of stalling cards that kind of just slow the game down. And so Reckless Greed doesn't really help in that. But I also think Reckless Greed is good because you're getting those 2 turns ahead, meaning you get the cards ahead of time. So if you don't have a stall card, you can Reckless Greed, get the stall card, play it, get a Swords of Revealing Light, boom, you're stalling, and now you're alive for longer. So then, you kind of, it's a last resort. And also you can kind of use it as a as like a fake card, right? You play it down and they try to mystical space typhoon it, thinking it's a powerful card. You can activate it and you get the benefit without the downside. And they wasted one of that card, so you can kind of improve the card advantage on it by kind of baiting in your opponent with this. So it's great. Very versatile. And then we got Robin Goblin. Robin Goblin, I think, is a... Well, normally I can't count how many times Robin Goblin has been such a huge help, just for the fact that you play it and your opponent instantly goes, crap, they need powerful monsters and they don't got powerful monsters. It's especially good early in the game when you can just, I can plop down pretty heavily powerful monsters before my opponent can, because 1800 is a pretty powerful monster that they're not going to have anything to really defend against. I guess like a Gravekeeper Spy or something. That's, the main enemy. But, and, it's so much card advantage, I would say, because they're just losing so many cards in their hand, and they don't have as many options. And especially considering it's random, it's, they don't get to pick. And then next we got Needle Sealing. So Needle Sealing is basically like a weird torrential tribute, but I really like it because it doesn't destroy face-down cards. And so you can set your cards, destroy all your guys, and you destroy all your opponent's stuff, and you still have guys on the field, which I think is great. It's kind of like a weird Raigeki that you need to set up with, which, and the downside really isn't that big of a downside, so you can use it pretty often. And then we've got Compulsory Evacuation Device. This card is basically, this is like a trap hole that's more useful, I would say, because you can get rid of the Luster Soldiers. You can kind of get rid of the defenses that they have to, get in and hit for their life points. So that's great. And I have another one. I'm thinking of adding another one in place of Trap Hole. But I'll get onto that later. And then we got Magic Cylinder. So Magic Cylinder, this is a great card. Does tons of damage. I've won so many games because I Magic Cylinder my opponent. And once again, it stalls out. It keeps my guys alive. It keeps, it keeps my guys... it keeps me alive. It keeps everybody alive, which is great. I think a lot of times people go, oh, well, the point of the game is to kill your opponent, not to make you live. But I think it's a lot easier to kill your opponent when all your guys are alive and you have more resources, which is, I think is handy. And then we've got the second Solemn Judgment. Well, like I've said before, Solemn Judgment's great. I think only having one of them in the deck would be more helpful because you just draw it and it's a bit, you're only going to use it once per game, if that. So it's just kind of, it's not a card you really need often. And then last we got Torrential Tribute. This is a great card just because it helps you just kind of reset the game, right? They've got a big board, you've got a big board. They kill all your guys, and you're kind of like, oh, and you can just kind of sacrifice your normal summon if you want to destroy everything, or you can trick your opponent into summoning things when you have nothing, and then kind of they kill their own stuff. So it's once again, it's not that versatile, but it's versatile in how you activate it. So, and it's just kind of a reset, which is great. So that's my deck. There's definitely a lot of changes I would make, a lot of new card additions, a lot of cards I would move. But now we're gonna get onto the part of the video where I kind of suggest ideas and my thoughts and some cards I have right now that I'm thinking of adding, and maybe some plans for cards I might want in the future. And it's probably not gonna be that entertaining, but hopefully it'll be fun at least. Maybe you'll enjoy it. And then, like I said before, just, comment down below any ideas you have. But let's get on with it. So, we've got, the 2 cards. We got 4 cards that I think need replacing. And I've kind of put up an idea on cards I might replace with them. So, we've got a second Warrior Returning Alive. We've got a Mirage Dragon. So this isn't a warrior. This isn't anything. This is an earth. It's light. It doesn't even have less than 1500 attack, which that's the main downside. I kind of wish it could be searched by Sangan. But this was kind of the card I was talking about with kind of the worst Jinzo, right? This protects you against trap cards. And it's not even just when this attacks, it can't be targeted by, it's just battle phase cannot be targeted by traps. No matter what, traps cannot be activated. And it's just your opponent, right? You can activate traps, which that's another handy. So I'm thinking of adding this card just for some protection in the battle phase, because there's a lot of times where you can kind of be, the battle phase kind of decides who wins, and your opponent, if they have a good trap, they can kind of decide who wins and who loses. So I was thinking of adding that. And then we've got the second compulsory evacuation device, and we've got this draining shield. So draining shield is basically a worse version of magic cylinder, where instead of dealing damage to your opponent, you gain life equal to the damage, but you still negate it. And I think the negation of the attack is the most important part, because it just helps keep your guys alive. It keeps your guy. It keeps everybody alive, which I think is a great testament, because my deck doesn't have Pot of Greed, it doesn't have Graceful Charity, it doesn't have a lot of card draw. And so my card draw is just kind of not dying and keeping my resources all safe and sound, which I don't think is the best strategy, but it's the only strategy I really have right now. And so that's kind of the cards. I have a couple cards that are just kind of just kind of weird cards that I'm gonna put out some suggestions to you guys. So, so the first card we got here, I'll move these to the side. The first card we got here is Dark Snake Syndrome. So I'm a big fan of the continuous magic cards, continuous spell cards, and this card basically just puts the match on a timer as long as it's on the field. At the end of everybody's standby phases, you take 200 damage, and it doubles every time. It increases every time it doubled. So I'm kind of thinking that my deck has not too much burn, but, I think, the aggression. I'd have to do the math on how much damage and kind of how it stacks, because I can also see it doubling really fast. Doubling is a big thing, and I could see it being, really bad, because you just die, but everybody dies at the same time, and that's not very good. So I can see that. The second card I have here is Curse of Aging. Yeah, so Curse of Aging Curse of Aging is a trap that it's a battle trap, so it decreases the power of and defense of your opponent's monsters by 500. And so I'm kind of thinking maybe it's good. It makes you discard a card. And that's kind of my main thing is I don't really want to discard a card for that effect. So that might not be the best card decision. And because I've got a lot of weird cards that are just kind of there. I've got a lot of burn cards. That's kind of the thing. I've got a lot of burn cards, and I'm making a warrior deck. So, what's some other cards? Like Needle Wall. That was a Needle Wall. It's once again continuous trap, then it just destroys your opponent's monsters, but like randomly, and maybe it doesn't. So that's another big one. Driving Snow, which when one of your, I think, traps is destroyed. Yeah, when one of your traps is destroyed, you can destroy a trap or spell on your opponent's side, maybe that's good. Card Destruction. I don't know if that's good. It's -1 card advantage, because you don't draw a card for this card. So that's kind of my thing, is I already lose cards really fast, and I don't really want to do that again. I have to Drag Down into the Grave. It's similar to Card Destruction, be Pickets. You can see your opponent's hand. So that might be good card information, but once again, you're going -1 for that. Scapegoats. Everybody knows Scapegoats. Why was Goat named after? Why is it named Goat? It's named after Scapegoat. Great card. I just kind of feel like it would clog up my lanes, and I just wouldn't be able to do much with them. But maybe it's good anyways. I don't really know. Gravekeeper's Guard. It's got a lot of defense, but and it's a spellcaster, right? So it boosts my A forces a bit. But is it good? I don't know, right? There's a lot of, I've got 10 billion more, but those are a couple of them. But, comment down below what you think. And I'll probably get more cards and, get more options and finagle with my deck. But I hope you enjoyed it anyways. And Like I said, I'd love to hear your opinions. I love it when people comment. And I'll see you in the next one.